Hey guys, it's Kaliko. I was talking here without my mic on for a little bit, but good morning, happy Saturday, aloha. We're back with another Kaliko Vision live stream. We're going to start doing a little bit more of these from time to time, whether it's politics or other things that I'm interested in. And actually today, I want to be covering the arrival of Hōkūleʻa up in Seattle. The Hōkūleʻa is a very well-known outrigger canoe that has been voyaging across the ocean for some time. This is now its 15th major voyage in over 50 years, starting back in 1976. And today they're actually arriving in Seattle as part of a massive voyage to circumnavigate the Pacific Ocean. So really excited to cover a little bit of that today. I'm actually going to share my screen so you guys can see a little bit of what's going on. These guys are arriving in Seattle shortly. They are actually just outside in Elliott Bay, working their way to Pier 62, where they're going to do a traditional welcome ceremony. They actually got into the area about 8 a.m. this morning, where the outrigger canoes and escort vessels were gathering to basically bring them into the harbor. And then they also had some other First Nation tribes up in Washington. The Suquamish as well as the Muckleshoot are going to be actually welcoming Hōkūleʻa into the bay. And then at 10 a.m. West Coast time, they'll be docking at Pier 62, doing some traditional landing rituals. And then tribal nations in the Seattle city will do a welcoming ceremony. And then they're actually going to be having like public tours of the Hōkūleʻa there actually at Pier 62 from 1 to 4 today. You can see a bunch of the vessels there in the bay already getting ready to welcome them in. Just to kind of prep people for the arrival of Hōkūleʻa, I wanted to actually play a video that explains a little bit more about Hōkūleʻa and basically the way it works. The Hōkūleʻa is actually an old school outrigger canoe that only navigates using traditional means, right? So Hawaiians and Polynesians in general had settled the sort of South Pacific using these traditional navigating mechanisms, whether it's from the stars or whether it's ocean currents and that sort of stuff. So it's really fascinating to see how the Hōkūleʻa has managed to make these massive journeys around the globe using these old school technologies. So I'm actually going to play a video that I think is really informative about specifically the story behind Hōkūleʻa, how they get around, and exactly sort of the impact of what it is that they're going to be doing here. So we're going to go ahead and go to that video now.
These miracles of these voyagers that started to discover all these islands, it's like the eighth wonder of the world. How did they do that so far back in time? There was two things of genius in Polynesia. Someone needed to build a vehicle, a spaceship of our ancestors that could sail far, when no other culture on earth was sailing far. The other is you had to navigate to find a way to and from. The navigator needed to be able to see, needed to be able to hear, it needed to be able to feel. Every day that navigator would maybe making 5,000 observations of a wave or a bird or a star. It would make 500 choices about trim, course, steering, and then it would make 2 decisions. At sunrise and sunset, in the color of light of dawn and dusk, it would make decisions about where are you on the earth. I think we are where we are on the planet today, where human beings are changing the earth. It is now turning around and changing us, and we don't know what to do because we disconnected. The greatest thing we need to do is become family of the earth again, family of nature. The greatest naturalist I've ever met was my teacher, Mālama, who transcends the observation of nature to what he calls the magic. It is about when the human existence becomes part of the family of nature, that you are nature. The thing about Mao, the day he was leaving, packing his bag, he sat me down and said, okay, and I know I give you everything. And the ocean showed you everything, but it'll be 28 years before you'll see. If you want someone to know everything, send your son because you're too old. That's a crucial piece of cracking the code. And it's when we teach our children. When do you learn the connection? When do we learn verbal language? When do we learn the language of nature? And that's the language we need to immerse ourselves. We need to bring it back. We need schools of nature immersion globally. And that's why we're voyaging. To just getting general awareness to half the population of the earth, getting understanding to a quarter population of the earth, and getting the sense of values back to 1 billion people. And then going down the road from values, you need to reinstate respect. Then you need to reinstate care. And then from there, where values are now moving to action, that's when you need to help strengthen a community and a culture that's global, not based on race, but based on values. Hōkūleʻa takes us into the wild. The voyage itself will take about 400 crew members from, we're hoping, about 26 countries. Diversity and equity and access matters. That this is not just a Hawaiian voyage, this is a global voyage. We'll be at sea for about 450 days, and we'll be on land for 950 days. Every day is a story of ideas and people. You cannot make this movement by yourself. You have to have communications and education platforms that can get it to the billions. And then you need to have partners that are going to essentially strengthen the stories, help us to access communities. We will go to indigenous territories and communities to make sure that these people have voice. Hōkūleʻa, Hōkūleʻa will do its part. It won't do it by itself. You need the platforms and you need the partners. And that whole voyage of connecting to the earth and connecting to these people who can make change, we're working just as hard on those partners and those platforms as we are in getting Hōkūleʻa ready to go. When you try to imagine and add up how much goodness people are actually doing as individuals, not collected, not organized, not institutionalized, we should never do that. Just let that wave happen, let that movement happen. We're in the race between those who are essentially hurting the earth and those who are healing it. What we're trying to do is reclaim our relationship to the earth. It's our time to turn the canoe to the only island we have, and that's the earth.
Super powerful video from Noah Thompson, who is one of the founders of Polynesian Voyaging Society, which is the people who run and manage the Hōkūle, as well as the Hīkianalia, which is another one of the outrigger canoe ships that was recently sailing on another worldwide venture that they're on. You can see here that we are sharing the screen, showing some folks all paddling out to see the Hōkūleʻa, welcome them into the harbor at Elliott Bay. You can see all the different canoes. We have you can see some Hawaiian flags out there, as well as some other non-traditional Hawaiian kingdom flags that people also like to fly out as well. So this is going to be really awesome experience. My wife and I and the kids wanted to go up to Seattle to actually experience this ourselves today, but as you can see, it's so crappy in terms of the air quality index right now. So it's just settling or dealing with a lot of fires in the Northwest right now, which is part of the reason why I wanted to cover this today, is because we recently obviously saw the wildfires in Maui and the devastation that is happening on the island there. Part of the reason why Hōkūleʻa is going out and doing this adventure across the world to sort of spread the message of us all living on one earth together and needing to mālama, or care for the earth. Is the very fact that we are sitting here like kind of burning up our earth. We're watching the smoke just pour into Seattle, which is typically got blue skies and blue water, but today is covered in smoke as the Hōkūleʻa arrives. So one of the cool things about what they got going here, and if you guys go to hōkūleʻa.com, you can actually follow along with their journey. One of the really awesome things on here is that you can actually see on their website, you can actually track where they are, right? So a little bit earlier this morning, they were over here in Suquamish, Washington, but they are now working their way through the middle of the bay. This is where they are as they're waiting for people to show up. You can also see here back at Pier 62 where the programming will be going on. They actually have folks there ready to do a ceremony, doing traditional Hawaiian welcoming ceremony, as well as some of the other First Nation tribes that will be in participation today. So really exciting stuff as the Hōkūleʻa pulls into dock. I'm actually going to turn up the volume here on YouTube and see if they're actually saying anything. I don't know if they are. No, not yet. So this, like I said, they are going to be arriving here. They're set to actually dock in 45 minutes at 10 a.m. But they're now doing sort of the water welcoming ceremony with some of the Suquamish tribe, as well as the Muckleshoot. You'll see some of the boats and the canoes who are going out to actually meet the crew. This video that you're seeing here, this shot is actually from the Hōkūleʻa looking out as the folks are coming in to greet them. So we'll be watching that as it happens. And then there's also another really great video I wanted to be able to play for you folks talks about specifically the journey that they are on right now in this voyage for Earth. So the Hōkūleʻa is on what they're calling the Moananuiākea journey, which is a voyage for Earth. And sort of as they explain their purpose of this, it's that to ignite a movement of 10 million planetary navigators who will pursue critical and inspiring voyages to ensure a better future for Earth. We do so by developing young leaders and engaging communities around the world while amplifying the vital importance of our oceans, nature, science, and indigenous wisdom. The Polynesian Voyaging Society and Voyaging Leadership are identifying important cultural, educational, and environmental sites to visit during the voyage. Each leg will have a specific purpose and lead to our ultimate goal of connecting the Pacific communities for collective action around common challenges and shared sustainable destiny. So they're actually going to be traversing over 43,000 nautical miles, which is a huge journey for these folks. And as you might have saw on sort of the map that they had showed a little bit earlier, and in fact, I'll pull this back up. They started up here in Alaska, right? And so this first little bit of the leg, which is technically leg 6 of their journey, is going to stop off here in Seattle. They're going to continue all the way down the west coast of North America, down into Central America, ultimately down to South America, work their way through Rapa Nui, Kahiki Nui, up into Tahiti and some of these other spots in the South Pacific, back up through the Australian, through sort of the Philippines, back up into Asia from Japan, back over to Southern California before we're going back to Hawaii, back to Tahiti, and then back up. So it's going to be super awesome to watch this journey. If you're not following along with them on social media, I really suggest that you guys do that as well. They're on as Hōkūleʻa Crew, and they actually, as they go about their journey, are posting pictures and videos, and the story covers sort of where they are from day to day and some of the public events that they'll be doing. So please make sure you guys are following along on their Instagram. You can see they're still having some of the arrival crews coming out to meet them. But I'm gonna go ahead and play another video real quick. This one is about specifically their stop in Juneau in Hawaii, in Alaska, which was their first stop on this journey before they came down to Seattle. So we're gonna go ahead and play one other video to explain a little bit more about their journey, and we'll pick it up on the other side.
Hundreds of people welcomed the legendary Polynesian voyaging society New Hōkūleʻa to Juneau, leading up to next week's global launch. It'll be a 4-year voyage to nearly 40 countries. Mahea Richardson is live in Auk Bay, Juneau, with the latest. Mahea.
Aloha, Jolani. Well, the Hōkūleʻa and her crew literally just left Auk Bay about 15 minutes ago. They're just taking a very short sail so they can dock for the night. But I can tell you, when she came into the bay and was greeted by hundreds of people with her sails open, it was a magnificent sight. Hōkūleʻa arrived close to shore at Auckwan or Auk Bay around 3 p.m. local time after sailing roughly 90 miles, nearly 12 hours from Haines. 4 traditional Alaska crews called yaks circled Hōkūleʻa and came together before bringing the crew to shore.
They will stay on their canoes, and the Yaktein-tan and the Wushki-tan will ask them who they are and what their purpose is for coming here.
Along with them were 4 members of the original 1976 Hōkūleʻa crew.
These kinds of gatherings for Indigenous people are becoming more and more normal around the world.
And when it really started to rain, it was all the more appropriate that the crew of the Hōkūleʻa was welcomed with warm blankets from the Alaska crew.
It's success for all of us. And it's like saying, hey family, we're here. And they get the same with us too. You know, they see us and they're like, oh, you guys are here. So it's success for everybody. That the prayers worked, the preparation worked, the training worked, all of it worked. They worked hard on the va'a, and they were able to be successful in reaching their destination.
Leaders and students of Kamehameha schools did protocol to welcome Hōkūleʻa. For some, this is a new experience. For others, they've traveled around the world for this beloved and iconic symbol of Hawaii. And back here live, it was the kind of ceremony that just fills your heart. There are tears of joy just to see the Hōkūleʻa and so many people here. And I can also tell you, I spoke with Randy Fong and his wife Jamie after the ceremony, and they were very pleased, especially with how well the Kamehameha students did with their protocols and their chants. They said they were grounded, centered, and focused. They got a little cold, but they said it builds character, especially when you think about what our ancestors went through. Reporting from Auk Bay, Juneau, I'm Mahea Richardson. Jolani, back to you.
Very cool. That was very cool to watch that video from their arrival in Alaska. Obviously, as I said before, this leg down to British Columbia and then ultimately down to Seattle. I'm going back to their regional sail plan here because I think it's fascinating for us to be able to take a look at exactly how big this journey is. 1 second here. Let me pull it up. All right, so the regional sail plan here, as you'll see, from June to September 2023, which is the leg that they're in now, from Alaska to British Columbia, and then September to November 2023 is going to be the entire west coast of the United States. I don't know that they have announced any other public events other than Seattle, which is partially why I wanted to get up there this weekend to go check it out, but we will hopefully be covering any other arrival ceremonies that they'll be doing along the West Coast. Then in November to February, they'll be in Mexico, Central America, and South America. And then from February to March, they'll be from the Galapagos to Rapa Nui. And then March to April 2024, the Pitcairn Islands, Marquesas, and the Tuamotus. And then from April to December, Tahiti, the Austral Islands, Cook Islands, Kiribati, Samoa, Fiji, and Tonga. So really big journey. And then once again, they're going to be back up next year. They're going to be traveling from a full travel from 2023 to 2027, a 4-year journey traveling once again, as we had mentioned earlier, simply just from traditional navigational means, not using any sort of new technologies around GPS and that sort of stuff. They're actually focused on doing this the traditional way. We're going to go back to showing the screen from the actual arrival as folks are coming into the bay to welcome them. Like I said, they won't be actually arriving into Pier 62, which is the main part of like basically downtown Seattle, where you might find the Seattle Aquarium and a bunch of other sort of, you might have seen that big Ferris wheel that's all down there on the waterfront in downtown Seattle. So that's where they'll be arriving in about 40 minutes, around 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. So we're going to be continuing to cover this as things are happening here. I'm going to put on a little bit of background music and keep the live stream up. And then I will come back in as things get a little bit closer and as we start to see a little bit more excitement around these ceremonies, because right now obviously they're still waiting for folks to actually get out there, do the traditional ceremonies, and then they'll be actually working their way to Pier 62 for the public ceremonies as well. And boy, just looking at all the smoke in the air, I'm sure glad I didn't go up there, even though I would love to see it. You can actually see the sails there from the Hōkūleʻa from this shot. So they are working their way into the pier. We'll continue to cover this, and I think they're actually
from all nations.
Talking on the live stream. I can't tell if they're actually just giving instructions or what, but we're gonna go ahead and let this continue to play out, and we will pick it up as they come into port. All right, there you see it. The Hōkūleʻa is moving its way in. It's getting much closer. You can see there's large sails as folks are paddling alongside of it, welcoming it into the Seattle Bay. This is just awesome to see. I'm going to play a little bit of background music here. This is a cover song called Hawaii 78, originally done by Brutta Is, and I'm hoping the MP3 I just downloaded will work. So we're going to listen to this as we watch the Hōkūleʻa come in.
Hawaii 78.
Mai heo polohiva a kahane o kaina a kanalo Hawaii o noa o nua ke o kaina o haumea e kana e naha e a he ula leo.
If you've never heard this version before, it's by Moananuiākea Collective. You should definitely check it out on Hawaii. Go ahead and look up Hawaii 78.
If just for a day our queen and king would visit all the islands and saw everything, how would they feel about the changes of our land?
Can you just imagine if they were around and saw highways on this sacred ground? How would they feel about this modern city life? Tears would come from each other's eyes as they would stop to realize.
So powerful watching this right now.
People are in great, great danger now. Or just cry.
Cry for the gods, cry for the people, cry for the land that was taken away, and then bid goodbye, Hawaii.
Could you just imagine if they come back and saw traffic lights and railroad tracks? How would they feel about this modern city life?
Tears would come from each other's eyes as they would stop to realize that our land is in great, great danger now.
I ka pono Hawaii.
It's a beautiful version of Hawaii 78, originally done by Israel Kamakawiwa Ole, who most people know as Brother Is. You can check that one out at it's if you go and Google Mana Maoli and search Hawaii 78 on YouTube, you'll be able to find it. But it's a really awesome version. We're still covering this live arrival of the Hōkūleʻa into Seattle, into Elliott Bay. They're about to be arriving at Pier 62 for a traditional welcoming ceremony in about a half hour, about 25 minutes. You can see there in the bay a lot of boats, a lot of ships, a lot of canoes, all paddling and sailing and gliding aside the Hōkūleʻa, guiding her in. Many Hawaiian flags and other First Nation tribe flags being flown out there. Proudly, I believe it was the Suquamish tribe as well as the Muckleshoot tribe from up there in the Seattle region who came out to join them. We're going to continue to follow this along as they come into port, but I also want to go ahead and play a little bit more music for you as we're watching this. This next song is going to be Hawaii Aloha, and this is actually a pretty traditional song out in Hawaii. And this is another one done by the Moananuiākea Collective, which is a collective of a bunch of Hawaiian artists who do these really awesome covers of really well-known songs. So we're going to go ahead and play that now, and we'll continue to watch as the Hōkūleʻa comes into port.
Take 7.
As you might remember, the sails were open as they were coming into the harbor, but now they're closed as they are slowing down and making their way into the pier. You can see the canoes lined up alongside them. You see the Hōkūleʻa crew members all wearing red shirts. As the camera zooms in there, you can actually see in the back of the side facing us, you can actually see Hōkūleʻa, the name, on the back of the one side of the outrigger canoe there. All right, welcome back. If you guys are just joining us, we are covering live the Hōkūleʻa's arrival to Seattle, a large outrigger canoe that has been traveling the globe. This is now its 15th major journey in over 50 years. Just started its journey up in Alaska, now worked its way down through British Columbia, and is now arriving in Seattle this morning. Is prepared to dock at 10 a.m. this morning for an official welcoming ceremony, as well as public tours that'll be happening dockside from 1 to 4:30 p.m. there at Pier 62 in Seattle today. But this is actually a journey that I was mentioning earlier is going to be lasting from 2023 this year through 2027. This is a 4-year journey. They are circumnavigating the entire Pacific, starting, like I said, up in Alaska, working its way down the West Coast to Central and South America, back into the South Pacific, up through the Philippines and Japan, into Central and South Asia, and then into China, and then back over to Hawaii, and then back to the West Coast, back to Hawaii, and then back into the South Pacific. So it's quite the journey. This is now the 6th leg of this particular journey. So I think one of the videos we said earlier, and I know at Thompson, they're expecting hundreds of different navigators to join them throughout the course of the 4 years from different countries, all joining them to help navigate this vessel, but also doing it, as I mentioned earlier, in a traditional way, using the stars, using the ocean currents, using the temperature of the ocean to kind of figure out where they need to navigate to, right? Not using non-traditional newer GPS units and things that we would be used to navigating boats from port to port. So this has been really awesome to watch them arrive here in Seattle. We're going to keep this coverage going until they, hopefully until they dock. You can see those water cannons being shot out of one of the ships there in the bay. That's really cool to see. I'm gonna go ahead and play another song here. This is another Moana cover of a song called Island Style, originally by John Cruz. Then on the other side is a song called Oiva, which was written by John Maka'aina lake, which was the kumuhula who gave my dad the name Kaliko, which was passed on to me. So we're going to go ahead and listen to that, and we'll keep watching as Hōkūleʻa arrives in here. Here's to in Seattle.
We do it island style. From the mountain to the ocean, from the windward to the leeward side. On the island, we do it island style. From the mountain to the ocean, from the windward to the leeward side. Mama's in the kitchen cooking dinner real nice. Beef stew on the stove, loamy salmon with the ice. We eat and drink and we sing all day. Kanikapila in the old Hawaii way on the island. We do it island style. From the mountain to the ocean, from the windward to the leeward side. On the island, we do it island style. From the mountain to the ocean, from the windward to the leeward side. We go grandma's house on the weekend clean, yeah. If we don't go, grandma gotta work hard. You know my grandma, she like to pour real soft. I love my grandma every minute, every hour on the island. We do it island style. From the mountain to the ocean, from the windward to the leeward side. On the island, we do it island style. From the mountain to the ocean, from the windward to the leeward side. From the windward to the leeward side. From the mountain to the ocean, from the windward to the leeward side.
All right, guys, welcome back. We are watching live the arrival of Hōkūleʻa in Seattle, Seattle's Elliott Bay. They're going to be arriving at the Pier 62 here shortly, set to arrive in about 10 minutes at 10 a.m. When they'll be doing an official arrival ceremony, where they'll be having tribal nations and Seattle City welcome ceremony. They have a whole like stage set up there with some speakers. I believe Nainoa Thompson, who's the head of the Polynesian Voyaging Society, or potentially Bruce Blankenfeld, who's also one of the co-founders, will be speaking. Some of the crew members will be there later today from 1 to 4:30 p.m. There at Pier 62. They'll actually be doing dockside canoe tours, so you can actually check out and learn a little bit more about the Va'a and of exactly how life exists on there. Like, these people are living on this boat for months at a time, right? People are basically taking one leg of the journey, and then they're getting to a place where they dock and they swap out, and then they're moving on. But people are staying on this for weeks and months at a time, right? They're literally living on this canoe and sailing. I'll reiterate, sailing around the ocean. They do not have a motor. They are using those sails that you see that are all wrapped up right now. They actually use that to get the momentum that they need to carry them across the ocean. And this is going to be a 43,000 nautical mile trip. As you can see, all of the canoes seem to be working their way in to the into the Hōkūleʻa there. And I'm getting a phone call, so I'm going to go ahead and unmute the YouTube just in case their crew ends up providing any sort of commentary. Right now they're not, but you can see that they are preparing for some sort of welcoming ceremony. I'd imagine, knowing Hawaiian traditions, that there's some chanting going on, and there's I wish I could tell you more about what the actual ceremony could be, but what I noticed when I'm looking at this is all of the different First Nation people who are out there, once again from the Suquamish tribe as well as the Muckleshoot. You see some different tribal flags. You see the Hawaiian Kingdom flag out there. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and just sit by and watch this as it is unfolding, and maybe we'll actually get to see a little bit more information from the actual crew doing their live stream. Sort of to give folks a little bit more background about sort of the objectives of this trip for the Hōkūleʻa, is the first objective is voyaging tradition, perpetuating the voyaging heritage to ensure that it's never lost again, right? This is something that, even as simple and as I would say, I use dumb, but this is maybe not the right term, but even Moana talks about sort of this, it was this like culture of these Polynesians, or this sort of voyaging society that got to this island, and then somehow, because of some fear, ended up forgetting and losing that memory of the voyaging. But obviously Hawaii is a different story, one of occupation by the United States government, one of really kind of colonialism from an economic standpoint. So it has been kind of a lot lost and forgotten knowledge in Hawaii. And even going back to after the overthrow of the Hawaiian Kingdom in the 1800s, it was actually illegal to even speak Hawaiian, right? So it was illegal to speak Hawaiian, to dance hula, in the same way that it was illegal to practice a lot of traditions in the other First Nation tribes here in the United States, the now United States. It was the same in Hawaii. So a lot of that cultural knowledge was lost. And so part of their objectives here with the Hōkūleʻa's journey is to actually continue to perpetuate that voyaging tradition. They also want to be, from global navigators, activating millions of planetary navigators who will pursue critical and inspiring voyages to ensure a better future for Earth. And then Va'a Honua, bringing millions of learners of all ages with us through our third canoe to create change and move us toward a healthier ocean and planet. Obviously, as I talked about earlier when we were kicking this off, one of the reasons why I wanted to cover this today is because the journey of Hōkūleʻa is about reminding folks that we are all one human community, that we're all one Earth, and that we need to be mālama, or caring for the Earth and taking care of her. You can hear the shouts there. Kind of a scene probably marking the end of the official welcoming ceremony there. That was really cool to watch. The other sort of last objective for the Hōkūleʻa on this journey is our ocean, our home, exploring and sharing the magnificence of the world's largest ocean, which breathes life into all of Earth's systems, and amplifying the movement to care for it, because life on Earth will not be healthy without a healthy ocean. Obviously, even thinking about the way Al Gore first started talking about the inconvenient truth and climate change way back in the early 2000s, it talked about the ocean currents warming, and that really kind of starting this long-term cycle of the systems changing, right? And that does kind of, get brought up here in sort of the idea that this is the largest ocean, and it does feed and move a lot of systems in our world. So now you'll see as they are starting to break up, they're going to be probably moving towards the actual pier to do the docking and to do their City of Seattle welcoming ceremony. This one was more focused on the other First Nation tribes and sort of the indigenous folks. And now they'll be moving over to a more public-facing ceremony where they'll actually be mic'd up, so we'll be able to kind of hear a little bit of that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this coverage going. I'm going to play a little bit of music in the background. This is one that we had already heard, but I'm going to play it again. This is Hawaii 78. This is the Maui cover of it, which you guys can check out on YouTube. We're going to just play this in the background as we're waiting for them to arrive at Pier 62 at about 10 a.m., which is about 5 minutes. Not seeing the larger shot here. I don't actually know how far they are from the dock, so it might take a little bit longer. But oh, never mind. We're hearing some stuff from the YouTube, so I'm going to go ahead and just let that sound take over.
Aue ke aloha o nā kupa ina marihini. Aue ke aloha e. Velina, aloha. Ke aloha e nā oiwi.
Of our land.
Can you just imagine if they were around and saw highways on this sacred ground? How would they feel about this modern city life?
So you see they are now coming into Pier 62 where they're going to be docking. You can see the big sports stadiums there in the background where the Seattle Seahawks play and where the Seattle Mariners play. You see the large Ferris wheel that's there on the pier that everybody goes to when they're in downtown Seattle. But here it comes to dock, and like I said, they're going to be going to a public ceremony where the city of Seattle and some others will be doing some speaking and actual public-facing event, so we'll actually be able to hear a little bit from them. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this playing, and we'll pick it up when they actually dock.
Could you just imagine if they come back and saw traffic lights and railroad tracks? How would they feel about this modern city life?
Tears would come from each other's eyes as they would stop to realize that our land is in great, great danger now.
The Queen had done, she gave all her love to
smile, be content, or just cry. Cry for the lost, cry for the people, cry for the land that was taken away, and then yes, you'll find a waiting I ka pono Hawaii.
All right, there you go. Right as the Hōkūleʻa and the Moananuiākea journey makes its way to Seattle at Pier 62, we just get to the end of that song. It was beautiful listening to Hawaii 78 there. Songs across Hawaii from Mana Maoli. You guys go ahead and check that out on YouTube. But we're watching as the Hōkūleʻa arrives here at Pier 62 for the official public ceremony that they're going to be having. And earlier I had mentioned that it looked like the crew was all wearing red shirts, but it actually looks like they're all wearing some sort of traditional patterned, I actually wouldn't even know what to call it, which I feel horrible about saying, but they're all wearing some traditional garb that they're going to be bringing out and doing this official ceremony and looking to tie off and make their way to port. I'm going to play a little bit more music here as we're waiting. Like I said, they're going to be going to some sort of public stage where they're going to be able to give some sort of speech. They're going to be having Seattle city officials, some tribal nations doing some stuff as well. So we'll hopefully get some actual audio from the event here shortly, but I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit more music as we're waiting for some of that to happen.
Kai ko'o ka moana kai lana nei Hawaii nau e wehe a halulu ka honua a haumea na kulukulu e ka lani ki e kau mai luna au e ke aloha ole a ka malihini. Me ko kamalala walula me ka kuhi hewa. Alu mai pu alu mai me ko mano kalani po. Ka I mai ana me na kama ka hele lani. Kuha ahea. Ae inu vai ava ava he viva ole a hoku pa'a a o he hope ho'i mai ai ana I vale no ka kou kau ko e mau I ke ala au e ke aloha ole a ka malihini e lei mau I lei mau ka ko e na mamo aloha I lei vehi a ali I vehi nani o ku'aina hoe a mau no ka pono sivila a ho'i hou ia mai ke ku'oko'a
Kuha'aheo, Hawaii, Mama Kakawa,
Aina o ke ehu kakahiaka ona o wiwi o Hawaii nei no ku'ulahu I e hawi pau ai o la mau Kuha'aheo Mama Kakawa
Trying to see if there's any sound coming out of YouTube real quick.
No ku'ulahu I e ha'awi pau ai o la mau.
All right. Doesn't seem to still be any audio coming out of the live stream from the Hōkūleʻa's YouTube page. So I'm going to continue to just kind of hang out and do a little bit more music playing here. But, as I was talking about a little bit earlier, if you guys are just joining us, this is the Hōkūleʻa. It's an outrigger canoe that has been making a journey starting in Alaska and then working its way down the entire West Coast, down into Central South America, back into the Pacific, up through South Asia and through China, then back down to the West Coast and then to Hawaii. So it's going to be a 43,000 nautical mile journey over the course of 4 years, having hundreds of people helping to be part of the crew, participating from many different countries. And today's leg is going to be, I believe it's part of leg 6 of their journey as they work their way down the West Coast. This is one of their first public events in the U.S. Here at Seattle's Pier 62, which is a pretty busy part of downtown Seattle. They are going to be, after they disembark from the vessel and work their way up to the pier, there is going to be a public facing event where I know they do already have cameras, and they have cameras, and they have it's funny that cut out. They have cameras, and they have like music, and they have people who are going to be speaking. There's going to be a whole programming going on there, and then at 1 p.m. is when they'll be opening up for public tours and that sort of thing. So we'll continue to watch the live stream here, even though it looks like they're having some potential technical difficulties, and we'll pick it back up as they get to having some actual programming here in just a few moments. The unfortunate thing is, as we're sitting here watching this, you can tell that this gentleman with the shell in his arm is clearly doing some sort of chant. And you can kind of faintly hear some stuff as if some people might be chanting back to him, as if to do a call and response.
This large canoe. It is a long peleleo canoe. the birds of the uplands, the Iiwi, yellow-eyed Iiwi bird. We've come to the end of our prayer.
Okay, it looks like they continue to have some technical difficulties there with the live stream, so we'll be continue to check back there and going back and forth. Like I was saying earlier, this is the Hōkūle'a's 15th journey in a 50-year span of time, and this one is the Moananuiākea, a voyage for Earth. And you guys should definitely be following along on their Instagram. It's at Hōkūleʻa Crew. I had put a banner up, and I'll go ahead and run another one here in just a second so that you guys can go ahead and follow along, because they're actually showing like their journey as they are going from port to port, and actually showing even while they're on the ship, right? And they're doing a really great job of really providing a lot of great educational content throughout, because one of the things that they are sure to do is to really focus on this being a science journey and to be focusing on science. Here you see that the crew is finally making their way out,
An amazing
and
community
they're doing
of
their
love and
traditional
kindness.
greeting. When you see sort of Hawaiians do, and Polynesians in general do that, like face-to-face, forehead to forehead, nose to nose thing, it's the exchange of the breath of life. I believe it's called a honi, but it is the idea is that you were exchanging sort of the mutual exchange of the breath of life there. So here you see as everybody's being welcomed, you have camera crews there that are obviously documenting this journey. I bet these folks are glad to see land. Like I said, these guys will go weeks and even months at a time without being on land, but they also will spend weeks on land when they actually get in to specific ports. There you go. You see sort of the public crowd there in Seattle at Pier 62. Folks who have got their lawn chairs prepared for the ceremony. Got folks sort of I see in Hawaiian shirts. You see this sort of Kia'i Mauna shirts going on there. Cool Kia'i Mauna about the Mauna Kea resistance shirts. See a lot of I see a Hawaiian flag there in the back. You already see folks coming. See this gentleman who's walking up with the phone in the traditional garb is also, I believe, one of the folks who was already on the microphone earlier doing some of the welcoming ceremony stuff. You can see the speakers set up there in the background. So we will have a public facing event here shortly. See the cameraman giving us a little bit of a better view here. So we'll go ahead and stop talking for a few minutes and let this keep playing out. And then, like I said, when they get to the public facing comments, we'll go ahead and cover that as well. We'll go ahead and play a little bit more music as we are waiting.
Take 7.
All right, guys, we're back. This is Kaliko. You guys are watching the ColecoVision live stream of Hōkūleʻa's arrival in Seattle. We are awaiting the public portion of today's ceremonies with the tribal nations and the Seattle City welcoming ceremony. You can see that this is the schedule that they have put out right now, and on the background of that, they also have a live stream shooting there at Pier 62. Where they will be actually doing some actual speeches and doing some official welcoming ceremony stuff here shortly. But I really appreciate everybody tuning in on this Saturday. Well, as I mentioned earlier in the stream, my wife and I and the girls were planning on heading up to Seattle to potentially be there for this arrival ceremony, but the AQI, the air quality index, is pretty high out there still for all the fires that are burning here in the Northwest. And part of the reason why I wanted to cover this today is because part of the mission behind Moananuiākea and really behind the Hōkūleʻa in general is to continue to remind everyone that we're all part of the same Mother Earth, and that ultimately we are all part of the same human family, and that we should be mālama, or caring for the aina, the land, the earth. And even earlier when you heard Hawaii 78, you heard the ua mau ke ea o ka aina I ka pono. That means the life of the land is perpetuated in righteousness. And that was a saying that was said by Kamehameha III back in the 1840s, when after Lord Paulette from the British had basically overtaken the Hawaiian kingdom, Kamehameha III had appealed to get it back into Hawaiian control. And when they were restored, their sovereignty was restored, is when he had said, Ua mau ke ea o ka aina I ka pono, which is the life of the land is perpetuated in righteousness, which is that we should be taking care of the land, and the land will take care of us. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to the live stream here. They're starting to talk on the speakers, but that sound is not coming through their live stream yet. But we give it just a second here to see if it does. If I had to guess, he just came on the mic to say that they're going to wait a little bit longer to get started. So I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit more music. We'll pick it back up when they do. Hi guys, hey, welcome back. This is Kaliko. I really appreciate everybody tuning in today to the Kaliko Vision live stream of Hōkūleʻa's arrival in Seattle at Pier 62. They're going to be kicking off the public ceremonies here pretty shortly. We got a chance to watch the Hōkūleʻa work its way into Elliott Bay to actually see the welcoming ceremony with all the canoes come out there from some of the First Nation tribes, the Suquamish, as well as the Muckleshoot tribes. That was really great to watch them come out there and greet. And you saw sort of like all of the different water vessels that were kind of coming in with the Hōkūleʻa, watched as it actually made port there at Pier 62, just one part of its 43,000 nautical mile journey over 4 years. And this is just the first part of it. Technically leg 6, but the first part starting in Alaska, working its way down the American West Coast, and then on through Central South America, going to the South Pacific, up through South Asia, up to China, back to the West Coast, and then back to Hawaii. So really appreciate everybody tuning in today. I'm going to go ahead and take this chance to take advantage of the fact that the AQI here in the Portland area is not bad. And the daughters and I and my wife here are going to go out to the park and go for a little walk. We'll be doing more live streams for ColecoVision later on down the road. Please make sure you are subscribing on the YouTube for ColecoVision. It's at ColecoVision Podcast. I'm at WizColeco on all the other social channels. So if you're following me there, you'll be able to catch these live streams, and we'll be doing more of them in the future. And if you're ever interested in learning more about Hawaiian history and other things, we'll definitely be covering more of that here on the ColecoVision Podcast. So hope you guys all have a wonderful afternoon and a wonderful day, wherever it is that you guys are. Sending you guys much aloha and mahalo again for tuning in.